My name is Bita Yazdani. I'm a culture strategist. I used to use another title, which had the word purpose, but then Justin Bieber released an album. It was called Purpose. So I have now a new name. There's another hip-hop guy who now has an album called Culture. I don't know what's going on. So this is for now my title, and you'll know pretty soon why. I'm going to skip this slide. Basically, people trust us. Maybe you want to trust us too one day. All right, let's just get to welcome and why. I'd love for you guys to just chat in between, like just two and two, why you guys showed up today, and potentially also why this session, but especially just today, why you guys showed up. So go ahead, chat a couple minutes. All right. Okay, guys. All right, everyone. So my curiosity is taking over now, so I have to jump in. All right, guys, I'm super curious. What did you guys agree on? Who wants to share? Why are you guys here? Who wants to start sharing? I heard reasons. Food, obviously. Food, okay. Okay. Well, the doors will be locked until I... No, I'm just kidding. Okay, any other reason?
See best practices, see what other companies are doing, what are the trends in HR, basically, yeah.
Perfect. Over here?
Well, maximizing people's qualities and potential without burning them out in the meantime, and general organizational health advice.
Perfect. There are probably some things that are sort of connecting us why we're here, but we also have, everyone has their own personal way of describing that, or their own reason why they're here. Although I would be super curious to hear all your stories. I'm happy you guys got to share at least two and two. I'm going to share briefly why I'm here, or at least from the self-leaders part, and this is sort of our, the way we would say it. So we want to create a world where every human being feels that they can lead their own life. So when we say everyone is a leader, you don't have to feel like, oh my God, now I have to be a leader for a big crowd or a big idea, but at least, wouldn't it be great to feel I can lead my own life? Yeah? So that's sort of our vision and sort of the purpose and why we're here. So I just wanted to share that with you. All right, so earlier today, I know some of the topics that are connecting us are around well-being. And there are the physical aspects of it, and we saw some fitness programs and some body-mind sort of initiatives, which are super important. Our focus at self-leaders are the psychological needs of humans. So that'll be sort of the focus on the session today. So does anyone know the self-determination theory? Who has heard about the self-determination theory? So basically, some of you might have heard about Daniel Pink, I think his name is, who made it very popular. I think he used the words purpose. Yeah, I don't know if it was him or Justin, but purpose, autonomy, and mastery. Yeah, the self-determination theory uses, I think, relatedness, autonomy, and competence. Sort of the same thing. Yeah. And I'm just going to go through them very briefly. You can call them, basically, if you look at it, belonging. We need it to just survive. Like humans, I saw this documentary with, like, I think it was like a mountain tiger, and the mom was like, you're ready to go after 3-4 days. You're born and you're autonomous. But humans, like, we don't live. Like, we need love and belonging and care for a long time, like as a species. And that has to do with our evolution, and you can read up on that for those of you who are interested in that. But we are born prematurely, evolutionary, to be able to take care of ourselves. So we're not very autonomous. Like if you compare with other animals, they sort of can crawl up and start walking after a few days. Yeah. All right. So we need that belonging just to live. Autonomy, we need that to at least feel we're controlling our life and freedom. And that is also another topic and sort of a session around free will and freedom, and do we really want that? But I think we heard just earlier that autonomy is sort of going down. I think you had a good conclusion, or what were your thoughts around that?
Yeah, my thoughts were that until quite recently, autonomy wasn't such an important aspect in people's lives, and it's becoming, with technology, more enabled, and that people are realising when they haven't got it. So I'm doubtful that autonomy is actually decreasing, but the feeling of not having it because you know about it is my hypothesis.
I thought it was a pretty clever one. Like, before we didn't know we needed it. Now that we know we need it, I'm missing it. Yeah. Yes, exactly. Exactly. It's just in your mind, guys. All right. So what we do when we create cultures is to find the balance here, right? So we work with creating tools to increase sense and ability to lead yourself, so the autonomy. And that's really where self-leaders started. So self-leaders, you could hear it in the name, it's about taking control and responsibility of yourself before you lead others. But we also now more and more get questions from our clients to also find the direction, right? So imagine you already increased motivation, engagement is up, but where are we going, right? That's direction, that's purpose. And there are different names for it. But personally, as you might have seen in the description, my own background is from sort of the why space. I work with Simon Sinek, I really think he did a good job at making the why concept easy to understand, right? Like, all our organizations know what we do, what we sell. Few know how we're different. Very, very few know why we exist. And I think he did a really nice job creating that awareness in all of us. Like, asking that question, like, oh, I didn't know I needed to know my why. But now that you say it, I need it, right? So that was really interesting. So belonging, purpose, and autonomy are our focus. Competence, I think the other type of consultants are helping cultures, and like typical HR work will focus on that, but that's going to be our focus today. So I want you guys to also, two and two, talk about other words that you might use for the same needs in your organizations or just in your personal life. So autonomy, what other words would you use to sort of describe that? The same with belonging, right? So just speak two and two and share with each other how you would translate these two words into needs. So anyone who'd love to share some words that you would use for autonomy, who'd like to share? Just, you can be spontaneous, just throw out some words for autonomy.
Independence.
Yep.
Freedom.
Freedom. Flexibility. Trust. Which one? Proactiveness. Ownership. Trust. Need. Accountability. You said me. Perfect. Yeah, great. Accountability. All right, how about belonging? Recognition.
Theme.
Meaning. Theme. Connection. Culture. Community. Yeah, great. Yeah, so basically, and I'd love to give you guys like a sort of a question, like if there are any needs that we couldn't sort of map in any of these three. Maybe there are, but I really think the autonomy and belonging, like the me versus we, can be, we use many different words for them. But it's basically the same thing. I think it's time to sort of simplify. What are we talking about in all these conferences and all these, lectures? It's always something around me and then the group and the dynamics in between. And I personally like to use the competence as my, and this is just my own definition, like this is my trade. Like, you let me into the group if I'm competent, right? I feel pretty autonomous if I'm competent in something, if I have mastery, because I'll be needed. And when I'm needed, I can sort of choose. So that's how I see competence. But it's basically the same thing. So when we talk about purpose, it's belonging, culture, belonging, right? It's all the same thing. Meaning, why. Yeah? Okay. So, I wanted to share with you the four, I would say, pieces of the recipe of how to create, in my opinion, a culture that's healthy on a psychological level. So these are four pieces that I want to go through pretty quickly, because this is sort of I would say it's like a 3-hour experience that you're now getting in 40 minutes. So it's going to be a little bit fast, but I think you guys are, if anyone, the ones who already know a lot of these things, so you're going to snap it up really quickly. All right, so 4 steps to healthy culture psychologically. And I'm saying that because I realize there are other dimensions. So 1, storytelling, and I'm going to share a warning with that, and it's very important because after working with purpose for many years, I realized it's very powerful. Yeah, so you can convince people to do things. And so it needs to come with a warning. Vision, very important, so that we know the direction, where we're going. Values, I'm going to share with you the latest and greatest way to work with values. And I'm going to share just a few notes to self that I at least bring with me every day to work. It has to do with ethics and love, because I'm a romantic after all. All right, guys, ready? All right, purpose, story, why. When you put a brain and fMRI scan, when you have an Apple fan and a religious person, the same area of the brain lights up. Okay? So from a neuroscience perspective, it's the same. A shared story makes us feel that we belong. Doesn't matter if it's a company or organization. These are just words we use. It's the same thing. It's the we part. It gives me identity. It makes me do really horrible things. And I'm not even going to think about it because it's for a bigger cause. You have ISIS, and on the right, you have the SS guards in Auschwitz. They all also felt a purpose, and that's why this needs to come with a warning. Purpose in itself doesn't have ethics. Yeah, you just feel belonging, and you're willing to sacrifice, you're willing to do things. You're willing to work hard, but it's also good to remember, what am I being made to do, and what are the products of our business, right? Because I'm not interested in just making people feel engaged. Like, they look really engaged. Right?
Yeah.
All right. So stories and culture also have a little different flavor depending on where you come from. Has anyone seen the new world map? Who've seen this one before? All right. So let me just walk through really quickly what this is, and I'll give you guys some time to reflect. So on the y-axis, you have the countries in the bottom that are more from a traditional value system. On the top, you have the more secular values. So you sort of lost your religion or sort of step away from the traditions and make decisions in a society that are more quote-unquote secular. On the x-axis, you have countries to the left that are more into what we would call, think of it as Maslow's, like survival. They still need to think of the basic things, get food on the table, economics. Where we on the right side, and I think some of you can find our countries there, we're very obsessed with other things, such as self-expression and sort of, I don't need just a sweater, but I need the sweater to really reflect me. Is it really me? Yeah, so that's us. So has everyone found a country they live in or have lived in? Yeah? So I'd love for you guys, again, to 2 and 2, speak about the opportunities and the challenges with the country and the place that you find it in. So go ahead, Chad. All right, guys. So I wish I could have given you 10 more minutes to talk about this map, because this is one of my favorite. Like, I grew up with a map in my wall, like when I was a kid. I think this is going to be my new map. Love this one. I wish I could give you more time, but I have to stop here and ask you guys what you were talking about. What were you guys seeing? Any?
In practice, the map keeps on moving, I think.
I think in practice the map keeps on moving because there are a lot of countries now which are, well, either Protestant Europe or Catholic Europe, but you see that's mainly because they have a leader which is proposing that and has having that as a proposition. But the civilization as well is in a dilemma if they are committed to that proposition, for France in particular. We have quite a young-minded president at the moment, which opens doors to America, etc., but which are countries who are quite opposing in values. So you see the civilization having a dilemma if they have to follow that person or not. So
I love it. So it's sort of like the impact of the leader's own value system on the organization. Also highest mental stress and depression medicine. But yeah, and actually, anyone from Denmark? Because that's one of those, like, they are highest, like, in happiness and also consumption of antidepressant. And it's just hard to know, what is that? Right, so who here, how many have lived in at least 2 different, you know, let's say, parts of the map? Yeah. So, what you could say here basically is very much like you were saying, how you can become, you know, in your role, a communicator and the bridge sort of between these cultures, because it's not about what's right or wrong. There is, if you actually lay over economic, socioeconomic, yes, there is a pattern, right? But I think I'm myself from Sweden. We call ourselves the moderate country usually, but we're like in the top end. I wouldn't say, like, and I'm born in Iran, so I have a Persian sort of upbringing, so I know there's a, you know, you can have pros and cons with 2 different cultures, right? So that's the whole point. And I think what you can sort of bring back to your own organizations and filters is to also think of, I think, who here is part of a global, like, company or global organization? Because some of you might have, like, you're in an American organization, you know, working in France with a German leader, you know, and that if you sort of know their value system and some of the double clicks on this, like how it impacts decision making, maybe some of your frustrations will turn into empathy and curiosity, because it's just different ways of seeing and making decisions. And so I think this is a really good, it's one of those maps that help at least our global companies and clients to sort of make sense. So bring this with you. I think one key point I want to make here is, have you guys seen the Philippines? It's right there in the Latin America. Anyone from Philippines here? Nice. Salamat. Yeah. Yeah. So anyone has a good guess? Yeah, so what you could say here is these are countries are bundled depending on sort of the story. And in the Philippines, it's a Catholic country. Right. So the value system is much more similar to those countries than, for example, the Asian geographically close countries. Right? So we could be physically close, but our value system can actually be very different. And another point this makes is the stories actually shape our behaviors, right? So what we are told as we grow up and what is right actually makes us value things differently. So we are very adaptable, yeah? All right, this is my obsession. I work with culture, so I could go on forever, but food, right? So stories make, they are very helpful. They give meaning to a few things. I'm trying not to put too much value, like positive or negative, but it gives meaning to suffering. Like, why am I going to work and stay this late? And okay, it's for my family. There are stories we need to make up. Why am I sacrificing? Why am I, working for this promotion? It's like delayed, I'm not going to get it tomorrow, but it's going to come later. But I need a story that convinces me that it's worth it to keep going. It gives meaning to discipline and also rules. So you could say, like, leaders can use a strong story as a way to give legitimacy to rules and discipline, right? So, for example, in Sweden, we have a bunch of rules, and we say it's okay because we have a bigger story of, let's say, equal rights or human rights or everyone's individual rights. So these are stories that makes us okay for our liquor store to sort of not be open on Sundays. So we give away some autonomy because we're convinced as a society that it's worth it because we believe in sort of helping each other and not everyone is autonomous like me. So let's close it on Sunday and I won't feel too oppressed. But then you have my French friends coming to Sweden and they're like, merde, where's the wine? And I have to sort of explain, you have to plan your consumption because we have these values, right? All right, so when you design your own company and stories, and I mean, this all needs to sort of connect the story and the rules yeah, I mean, I was just thinking about the Cisco presentation. It all needs to sort of connect. Like, we're a competitive firm. This is our da-da-da. This is our promotion plan. It all needs to sort of make sense. Otherwise, you feel it's not integrated into the country of Cisco. Right? Okay, cool. All right, so what other stories are we part of today? I mean, we're all part of a country, we're all part of a company, we all have probably our families where we have our family story. This is what we believe in our family. Are you seeing what I'm seeing here?
Yeah.
It's all the same. Like me and the team and our story. And I'll tell you, like this culture map, the biggest cultural problem I have to deal with in Sweden is the regional head office in Stockholm versus the countryside. And I bet it's very similar. And I bet like Stockholm has more in common with Amsterdam than another smaller city in Stockholm. So when you look at, these are averages for countries, if you look at the range, so you have the cities being much more up in the right, you have the millennials much more on the right, yeah, regardless of where you come from. So urbanization, globalization, the global divide, all these things will impact because we will all feel connected when we're from the big cities because we are sharing another value system. All right, so I'll give you, and this is because, I'm from Sweden. Anyone knows this guy? So rest in peace. So this is, I was just speaking last week at it was like a marketing and brand conference, and they got the award for the most purposeful brand also this year. So the point with IKEA is I think the reason why they're successful is that all the sort of stories are sort of making sense together. They have the founder story, the guy who, like, he literally, like, really is saving money when he's, like, taking the bus to his work. He's not driving around in a Maserati, So he was really living that story. And then you have the product that is not expensive, and then, if you just read the purpose statement or mission or whatever they would call it, better every day for the many people. I mean, you can see the business model right in there. I don't care what you sell, but you can sort of, when you read that, this product is not a luxury product and it's not for the elite. It's an everyday product for everyone. Okay, so a good challenge to come up with a purpose that's this connected to your business model. All right, that's why the first part of creating a culture is to really capture a true story. We usually go back to the founder story. If the founder is, let's say, not relevant to the success, we look at the savior story. Sometimes the founder sort of almost crashed the company, the savior came and saved the company, and then we look at the savior story. And if there's no story, this is like we're Procter & Gamble, we just made a new shampoo and there's like no story. We have to make a hero story of that freaking shampoo. Like, why does it exist? Is it doing something? And some of these products that are hard to sort of find a story, they need to like use Beyonce or something else to fill it up, yeah? But typical companies with a founder, like I would say when you guys work with your own companies or clients, really cherish the founder story. Go back, do the interviews, get the stories. Because, you don't usually leave big corporations or big systems to do your own thing if there wasn't like a reason. There's usually a reason for an entrepreneur to sort of break away from the order into the chaos. There is a hero story in there. So find it, capture it, and really cherish it. you can find really like fun ways to also work with like the hero story. Like, what is your company's purpose? Are you guys the the Superman? Are you guys there to create love? Are you there to create stability? Like, what is your hero story? I mean, there are really fun ways to do this, so I really recommend it. Okay, so now you have a story. You know where you come from, right? You know your past. Now you have to go into the future. You need a vision. You need a direction. And so typically the problem we have today with some of the vision statements are that you can't really see them because it's vision. You have to be able to visualize it. And so often we have to work with statements that are like, become number one in the Nordic market. That's not very inspiring, right? You can't really see it. So where are you going? Like, which world are you building together? And this is actually, again, biological. None of this is made up. This is all because our eyes are very important for goal setting and dopamine release. So when you can paint a picture, you actually can make people feel more engaged towards a goal. So this is all biology. So make sure your vision statements are really, I always use this, my favorite picture. The world is chaos, right? There are waves, and you have to sort of find ways to get through the waves, teamwork, me versus we, but we're also going somewhere. Can anyone see where we're going? We're going to Mount Fiji, and so you have to share with your people why that place is better than this place. Paint, like, what does a day look like out there? Why is it better to go there? Describe the day. Like, I have a dream that one day, just describe it. Not like become number one brand in the European market. That doesn't describe a better day, right? So try to describe a day, like, start with a future where, or a day where people wake up in the morning, and then describe it. Like, what does it look like, that world? So I'll just share a little bit briefly on our vision. So my personal take on this vision is like, I have a vision, or I imagine a world where, I sort of gave up on like equality, that everyone will be one day able to have exactly the same. I gave up. It's not going to work. I just want to aim for something that works. And my dream would be a future where people, no matter like exactly what job they have or how they live, at least feel that their life was worth living, right? We're not all going to be the same age. They're always going to be like, if you live here, you live longer, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's never going to be the same. But at least when your life is done, you're going to be like, yeah, it was worth it. That's my dream. I know it's already, that is a high ambition, but that's my take on it. So also maybe welcome people to internalize the vision to make it their own story. All right, guys. And then we have the values. Values work have been done, you could say, in 3 waves. First wave has been the top-down authoritative with good intentions, but sort of like, here are the 10 commandments, good luck. Here are 4 values, good luck. But nowadays companies are sort of like, no, we need to invite people into the dialogue. So here are 4 values. What do you think about integrity? And then next year, what do you think about integrity? And then you have to sort of repeat the same 4 values top down and sort of ask people what they think about it, because we thought it's a way to engage. But apparently research shows that that's not the best way to connect to people. There's a 3rd wave of values work, and I'm going to share with you in a little bit. But I'm just going to share how IKEA has done it. So they've done the 2nd wave, you could say. They have, everything is really consistent. They're obviously, I think, working with the Swedish sort of also colors, and the Swedish flag colors, and sort of the democratic story. So if you look, you can look up these things up, but if you look at the core of the values, they have democratic design, obviously influenced by the society it's brought up in. So they're definitely very strong in the 2nd wave of values work. But I'm going to share with you the 3rd wave of values work, and this is actually to connect on a personal level. So how many more minutes do I have? Does anyone know? 3? Really? Okay. No, but really? Okay. My gosh. Okay, so what I'm going to share with you guys, and maybe someone can help me just distribute these. These are the paper versions of the digital tool that we, thank you. We have, so as self-leaders, what we have created now is an assessment that is now used by Spotify, PwC, and other companies to help employees actually find their own personal values. So I want you guys to just take a minute and look at these. I just want to share with you the research behind why we're working with personal values. It turns out that when you increase clarity in organizational values, it doesn't make too much change of the engagement level. So if you don't have clarity on your personal values, you sort of can't anchor it to anything. It's when you start increasing clarity in your employee and the personal values that you see the increase in engagement. So it's better to even have high clarity in your personal values than being in an organization that is clear on their values. So that's just the research behind it. And of course, the best marriage is when you have clarity in personal values and clarity in the organizational values. This is a really, an eye-opener. I've honestly myself been part of the left sort of column consultants trying to clarify the values day in and day out, but now we know that it's the personal values that actually are the trigger. So in front of you, you have something we call the values tree, and I'm just going to share with you briefly what that sort of... We use the metaphor of the tree because how many of you guys have done some of the personality tests, like I'm red, blue, white? Yeah. And those are really, helpful in many ways. Sometimes it could leave people sort of like, welcome, you're red, good luck. That's sort of your life. Whereas like with the tree, with this concept, we are sort of like trees. We grow, we change. Yeah. So you do an assessment of what's valuable for you right now on 3 levels in our metaphor. And it's the foundation, what you need to feel good and okay on an everyday level. Self-fulfillment are the values you need to develop yourself and be able to express yourself. And then the greater good is what you now are ready to give back to the world, right? So imagine you now have your foundation, you are fulfilled. Typically, humans want to now give back, right, to a greater good, some of us. All right, so take a look at this tree, and then what I'd love for you guys to do is to just, circle in the 2 or 3 on each level that feels more relevant to you today. This is no right or wrong answer for life, right? This is just today. So please take a minute and just circle around the 2 words. Use your intuition that comes up on each level. And maybe share one value with the one you're sitting next to. And the way I'd love for you guys to share it is this way. So one person selects one value, just to save some time, just one value, and then you share a specific memory or example or an event where this value was important to you. So I'm going to just do, Ruth, do you mind just sharing one value and see how that would work? So we can just stand up. So basically you're the storyteller, I'm the listener, and you just pick the value.
So the value I'm going to choose is courage. I think it's in the self-fulfillment part of the tree. And the reason that courage is important to me is because when I was growing up, I had a mother who was lovely, but extremely fearful and anxious about a lot of things. And I was the youngest of 3 girls, and I watched the impact that had on everyone else and how fearful they were to do things and take steps. And although I'm not very good at it, I do try and be courageous, and it's a very important part of my tree because of that early experience.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. And basically what we do, and I want you guys to just test one with each other, and then we're going to go for a lunch break. But I just want to share with you that this is how we actually help organizations roll out this type of values work to get the employees to work with each other and share. So why don't you guys just test? Just take a couple minutes. I think I have 5 more minutes, and then we're gonna let you guys go. But share with each other just one value and maybe an example of why you picked that value. You're supposed to get 4 hours for this work, but I'm hopefully you understand me. All right, guys. What I would love. You see, this is the best part. This is so hard. This is so hard to stop you guys. But so here's the thing. I am also a very curious person. I have, with my teams, self-leaders in the first floor. Please come afterwards, and I'd love to hear your, just like the other sort of values and experiences that you value. I'd love to hear your stories for when we have time between the breaks or whenever. And sort of, I'll share more about how we work with these and how we help companies like Spotify, PwC, etc., to implement these, and especially integrated with existing values work, right? Because this is supposed to sort of anchor into existing initiatives. Please, let me see. So, I just want you guys to remember a couple things that, you know, values work often gets stuck in the executive teams, right? And it's really exciting to work with them, but we sort of need to get it out to the people now. And so we're sort of getting inspired by IKEA ourselves. We're like, how can we democratize this type of growth and leadership tools so that all employees can get it? And the way we can do it is through digital tools. Although we don't want people to get stuck in the app too much, we do have a very simple way to get the trees on your phone. But the point is to simplify conversation. So it's not a bunch of things you have to do in the tool. It's just a good excuse to have conversations on a deeper level. So with that said, I really want to thank you guys for being okay with this pace and your engagement. And I'd love for you guys to come up afterwards and chat. So thank you.